Hi there. Today we're going to graph proportional relationships. Objectives. We're going to determine whether two quantities are proportional by graphing them on a coordinate plane. Today's standards, we're going to recognize and represent proportional relationships between quantities, and we're going to decide whether two quantities are in a proportional relationship. And we're going to do that by graphing on the coordinate plane and observing whether the graph is a straight line through the origin. Vocabulary you're going to need to know for today: coordinate plane, quadrants, ordered pair, x-coordinate, y-coordinate, y-axis, origin, and x-axis. Maps have grids to locate cities. The coordinate plane is a type of grid that is formed when two number lines intersect at their 0 points. The number lines separate the coordinate plane into 4 regions called quadrants. An ordered pair is a pair of numbers, such as 1, 2, used to locate or graph points on the coordinate plane. This is an example of an ordered pair. 1, 2. The first number is always your x-coordinate. It corresponds to a number on the x-axis. The y-coordinate corresponds to a number on the y-axis, and that's the second number. This is an example of a coordinate grid. What I want you to realize here is this is your x-axis. It runs horizontally. This is your y-axis. It runs vertically. As stated before, when the x-axis intersects with the y-axis, it forms 4 quadrants at their 0 point. The 0 point is called the origin. It is known as 0, 0. Now, in the quadrants, the first quadrant right here is what we're normally used to graphing in. This is quadrant 1. To the left is quadrant 2. Bottom is quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. Identify proportional relationships. Another way to determine whether two quantities are proportional is to graph the quantities on the coordinate plane. If the graph of the two quantities is straight through the origin, then the two quantities are considered proportional. How to determine if quantities are proportional? Make sure you write this down in your notebook. Step 1. Create a table if one is not provided for you. This will create coordinate points. Remember, the coordinate points are the x, y points that you're going to need for graphing. Then you're going to graph the points. Then you're going to determine proportionality. So if the graph is a straight line and it goes to the origin, like we said, it's 0, 0, it's considered proportional. Example 1. The slowest mammal on Earth is a tree sloth. It moves at a speed of 6 feet per minute. Determine whether the number of feet the sloth moves is proportional to the number of minutes it moves by graphing on the coordinate plane. Explain your reasoning. Okay, so the first step that we're supposed to do is we're supposed to create a table. Before we create a table, we have to find out the two things that are going to be in our table. So we know that he's going to move at a speed of 6 feet per minute. So the two units are going to be time, and that's going to be in minutes, and distance in feet. So we made a table. Let's not make it complicated. Just do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Unless they give you points that they want you to find out specifically, just keep it simple. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when it says 6 feet per minute, that means you're going to multiply the number 6 times each minute. So 0 times 6 is 0. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12, and so forth. So now that we have our table, now we can make our coordinate points. This right here is going to be my x, and this is going to be my y. So now we're going to graph. Our coordinate points were 0, 0, 1, 6, 2, 12, 3, 18, and 4, 24. So we're going to graph them on our coordinate plane. And what we'll notice is that the line went through the origin, which is 0, 0, and it went in a straight line. It wasn't jagged or anything. So this is considered a proportional relationship. Example 2. The cost of renting video games from Games Inc. is shown in the table. Determine whether the cost is proportional to the number of games rented by graphing on the coordinate plane. Explain your reasoning. So here they have a table provided for you, which makes our life a little easier. We're going to write the quantities as ordered pairs, our x comma y's. So we're going to do number of games. That's our first one, so that's considered your x. And cost, that's the second one, and that's considered your y coordinate. So we're going to have 1 comma 3, 2 comma 5, 3 comma 7, and 4 comma 9. Now you can graph these points. So here's our graph that we come up with after we used those points as coordinate grids. Notice it does go in a straight line. However, it does not pass through the origin, which is right here at 0 comma 0. So this is my origin right here. So it's not considered proportional. Lastly, we have an example that says, which batting cage represents a proportional relationship between the number of pitches thrown and the cost? So the two things we're comparing are x is number of pitches and our y is cost. Okay, notice they both go in a straight line. However, the graph for softball plus is a straight line, that's our blue one right here, but it doesn't pass through the origin, which is down here, so the relationship is not proportional. But we know the graph for the fun center is a straight line through the origin, so the relationship between the number of pitches thrown and the cost is proportional. Hope that video was helpful. Thank you. Bye.